we're live
We're live.
for
Tyler,
CROM.
what is best in life?
I was gonna say tea. It seems like tea.
Yeah, I know. Wrong. Crush your enemies, see them dreaming before you, in the lamentation of the wicked.
Did you ever see
That's
the? You ever see the YouTube videos of like the musical versions of Arnold
oh
Schwarzenegger
my god.
movies? It's
Why
amazing. They're
why
amazing.
why even bother asking me that? Of course I
Crush
did.
your enemies. See
That's
them
why we're
driven before you.
we're crushing this intro, by the way. Hey everyone. Welcome back to Livebrush. My name is Ray Bonilla. And to my left is my good friend here, Tyler Jacobson. Say hi, Tyler.
Hey everybody, how's it going? To my right, right. Let me look at the screen here. Yeah, to my right. No, to my left. The left of my left of my left is Ray Bonilla. Reintroducing him.
Hey. Whoa. Wow. I got two introductions. This is awesome.
Yeah, we got to double up.
Yeah.
So what are we doing today? What are we up to? What are you up to?
um, we are doing a new painting here. You know, I totally forgot that I was supposed to show the finished painting
Oh yeah,
of.
but you showed it on the internet, didn't you?
No, I haven't showed. I just showed
Oh,
you.
top secret. No one gets to
It's
see.
in the thumbnail. It's in the thumbnail.
Mm.
The thumbnail for this
It's in
for
the
the
thumbnail,
banner.
folks. Check out the thumbnail.
I mean, for it was in the thumbnail, the banner for the Instagram. But yeah, I'll at the end of this stream, I'll see if I can pull it up and throw it on my OBS. So that way, if I break everything,
Oh yeah, don't do it now.
the, the stream will just end. Yeah,
Now that we have it working.
yeah. Rex
Sync.
Reddy has said Ray's such a good man. He gets two intros. That is fairly
This is
accurate. So
100%
yeah,
true.
contractually speaking, But I'm working on a new painting. This time I'm doing another underpainting, but this time I'm starting with a gouache lift outs. So that should be a lot of fun, and I'll be explaining that along the way. What are you working on, Tyler? I mean, I'm seeing some lit in
Yeah,
all manners of expression.
yeah.
Orc here. Can you explain what's going on?
Oh yeah, totally. So what? The last few episodes, I was just messing around in ZBrush, working on like a sculpt, just for me, just for fun. Um, and what I've done now, which I figured out earlier today, which I haven't done in ages, is I exported the orc bus that I made in ZBrush into DAZ, and because I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the lighting rig in ZBrush is incomprehensible. So I brought it
Right.
over into DAZ, and that allowed me to light it up properly. And so I'm gonna kind of, while we're chatting here and working away, I'm gonna work like I would on, like, maybe if I was doing concepts for gaming, I'd do like a rough sculpt, and then I would export that and I would paint over that. So that's what I'm gonna do here, is I'm just gonna paint over this guy now that I have this cool render with like good lighting, and I add some specular in there so I can see where his shiny spots are, and I'll be working from that.
No, that's killer, dude. That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're gonna do with this.
It'll be fun.
Um, all right, so someone in the chat. Oh, we have a new first time viewer, Umia, from Visual Arts Passage. Says, "Hey guys, watching this and Visual Arts Passage study hall at the same time." So, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Visual Arts Passage, which is a great online school.
Great stuff.
I mean, I'm biased, but because I've taught with them, and I'm teaching a 5-week mini course that's coming up, and they advertised our stream to all of their students, so it's pretty sweet. So if you're
Which I
joining us,
appreciate. We both
yeah.
appreciate.
So
Highly
yeah,
appreciate.
major thanks to John English and Tim Trabon for that. They also run this stream called Illustration Isolation, which is a fantastic live stream drawing. I guess it's like this, but not as much special effects. I mean, it's got a couple of artists, a couple of incredible artists.
I mean, like
Whole-
special effects, like movie special effects. They didn't bring in the special
yeah,
effect like
yeah.
we
I
do.
mean, like knowledge and stuff. The knowledge of things, dude. I think I'm like, how's my camera? I feel like I'm like off the.
Yeah, the shot for you, yeah, you're out of the frame a little bit.
I don't even know. I'm like getting pushed out. I'm getting pushed out of my own
Hey,
frame.
Kieran, what's up, man?
Dude, what's up, Kieran? Wow. Kieran Yanner, incredible
Yeah,
artist.
everyone check out Kieran's work. Amazing artist.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
Super good. Working. See, he's working just like us. All right. So Ray, what we try and do while we're doing this crap is while we're doing this bullshit is
Sometimes it is crap.
is we have good ideas while we're setting stuff up, and we kind of really strict with each other about keeping our coolest ideas for the chat. And Ray had some movie stuff, and I've been waiting for him to. So I've just been, I don't know. You it's like you teased me with this stuff you're about to drop, and I haven't heard it yet. So what the heck were you going to talk about?
All right. So before I we start talking about this, I'm just saying this is gouache. This is a brush with just water in it. You can actually see.
Oh
off
yeah,
to
that's
the
right.
side right here.
You're going to explain oil lift out. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
This is an
So
oil
it's-
lift
it-
out though. It's gouache lift out, but it's similar.
It's gouache lift. That's the same thing. So you're just taking out the gouache that's sit down, sort of what's it called? That's been pre-applied onto this painting here. And the cool thing about gouache, well, actually, the worst thing about gouache happens to be the best thing about gouache, and that is that you could remove it. And so this was a white surface, so I just covered it with burnt umber gouache, let it dry super fast, and now with just a damp cloth,
With a damn cloth.
a damn damp cloth, I can lift off the, or pick out the gouache, and so to create value differences and value transitions and stuff. So
This is not unlike if you've ever worked in charcoal or something and you have a kneaded eraser and you can pull out the darks. You can pull the darks out to reveal the lights. It's essentially a very, very similar process.
Literally the same thing.
Literally the same thing. And who did you learn this from when we were in school? Who did we learn this from?
The gouache lift out?
Yeah.
Did
anyone teach us this?
No. The oil lift out. That's a
Oh
different
yeah,
story.
oil lift out. We got that from Bill Mon.
From Bill Mon. So
We really need to get
Bill
the
Mon.
buttons back.
Dude, that's production side. I'm more PR and a client relations. So
Okay, well, I'll get the production level going. I just need I need the special board.
Dude, listen, we haven't had to stop the stream yet for technical difficulties. So so I'm like, I think this is a plus. I think we're crushing it. So,
Yeah, we did.
but
We'd have to take a 20-minute break like we did last episode.
Yeah, that was on me.
Kate will be here. Lord Adornable. Did I do it? Did I do it right? Yeah. See, I knew you'd get it right. Correct. One day, Lord Adornable. Kate will probably jump on in later on. I know she's a cornerstone to the stream, so got to get her in here.
She might be the cornerstone of the stream, but you know what? Why don't we get, if she's so special, why doesn't she do gouache lift outs?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I was telling her that this morning. Ray, I was like, Ray's doing a gouache lift out. What are you doing?
He smacked her. Before she could answer, you smacked her cereal out of her hand.
Yeah, not her. We can't
not
have that kind of talk.
enough.
None of that talk in the chat.
Yeah. It's too funny. So I'm going to be doing this and basically for the majority of the stream. I'm going to try and just pick this whole thing out, and then I'm going to seal it, and then paint on top of it with acrylics. Because if you seal it, then you could just paint on top of it with whatever you want, oil paint,
This is what
more
was
gouache if
mind
you wanted
blowing to
to.
me was that you can just spray fix that thing and then paint right over the top of it.
Yeah,
Which I
and
guess
now I mean,
is exactly what Bill was doing with oil lift out, right? He was using
yeah,
watercolor as his foundation.
yeah. So like, it basically he was, you know, this is like a piece of what that process was. So Bill taught us something that a process that an incredible, legendary illustrator by the name of Mark English taught him, which is basically this uh, instead of doing this in gouache, it was oil, and instead of doing it just on some line drawing, you can actually tint the line drawing with flat shades of color to kind of get some color, like a local color, like the green shirt, um, red hat, that type of stuff. And once you applied sort of your oil on top and you lift it out, then all of a sudden you got a light green and a red green. I'm sorry, a light green and a dark green, shirt, a light, uh, you know, red and a dark red hat, and you can create your shadows like that. It was super, super efficient.
Just in case
And
people don't know,
yeah,
what is local color? When you say local color, what are you talking about?
so so I mean, like, when a local color, it's an inherent color of an object regardless of the light.
Right, like if it was
So
fully lit, it's basically color and value in one
yeah,
spot.
right. So it's like, if it's a when I say a dark red shirt, that is the local value and the local color of that shirt. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a warm light or a cool light, it's red.
Right, and then you can
So
color it essentially like with a gel, which is the sort of transparent medium that you're painting over it.
exactly. Yeah, and that's literally what this is. Uh, Lifting this out. So I'm just exposing the color underneath. But in this case, it's just white. So I can, it's going to be pretty, it's just one color, monochromatic. And the advantage of doing that is just I don't want to have to deal with color yet. I'll do that later.
Yeah, I like
So
to
it,
do that
looks like
too,
a good
though.
one.
Like a lot of my paintings, I'm not messing with color for a bit, just because it's like relaxing to just solve the values.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, I mean, I do it because, and I'm starting to do this more and more. We talked about this actually on season 2. I really enjoy painting on top of over and underpainting of some sort. Um, Even though I was trained, we were trained to do all sorts of things. Um, but I find that I want to be, I just want to have a stage where I'm just concentrating on the drawing and just not thinking about the color. And I want to have better shapes and forms out of my pieces. So if I do an underpainting, I find that my pieces tend to be much stronger when they go into the color stage because everything's all settled.
Yeah, you've solved a
Um,
whole bunch, and you can just go from there.
yeah, but that's me. Everyone's different. Um, but by the way, this is, I mean, you and I work pretty similarly digitally like this. Where if you ever want to try those who ever want to try this digitally, you can basically just take a layer like this, do a drawing, a line drawing, where you have light shapes and dark shapes, and then just put another layer on top of it that's, some sort of color that's a little darker than middle tone, you know, uh, and you could do a multiply layer over it just so that you could see the lines underneath. So you stack it with the color on top and then the line drawing underneath, and then you use an
Excuse
adjustment
me.
layer like a mask, and you could literally lift out, pick out the color, uh, exposing the white of the surface of the background surface. So
Yeah, I think there was like a time, like right when we were out of school, that I was doing everything I could in Photoshop to like figure out Strussen's like technique. I know he's not doing oil lift out, but he's doing the airbrush and Prismacolor over that.
right,
So I was trying to get like I wanted to get the board texture, and then I wanted to get all the brushes in Photoshop I could find that had like an airbrush quality to them, and man, never really worked. But it's fun kind of screwing around with those tools to figure something out.
Sorry, I just adjusted my. Yeah, they are. I just realized that I had a bunch of glare on my stuff, so I just used my polarizer to.
Oh, nice. I didn't even notice. It says magic, folks. Do you see the polarizer? It's a game changer.
Don't worry about that, man. We're on. You know what? So this is Gouache Lift Out. It's fun. You should check it out. I saw a video of Thomas Blackshear, one of the greatest artists ever. Thomas Blackshear the second, Blackskshar. Thomas Blackshear.
He comes up a lot on this stream.
Yeah. So Tyler and I, you know, we're fairly fond. We're aware of his work.
Yeah, we're super aware.
We're super fans. So
why doesn't he have an art book out? That's frustrating.
Said he was coming out with one, right? Didn't he say that he was working on a major publisher?
I remember he mentioned it, but like
I know.
I feel like Thomas is a bit of a perfectionist. I bet it wasn't good enough for him. I bet he was like, no, this doesn't work.
I know. They're like, redo the gold. I want every copy to have gold leaf.
That I'm going to do by hand.
Page numbers. So the movie thing that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Dude. So Tyler and I really love Red Letter Media. You got me into them, right?
Yeah, it's because of the episode 1 review. That's where it all started.
Yeah. And then from there I just watched Half in the Bag and all these things. And so this Half in the Bag, it's the latest one, talked about Bruce Willis's like this movie factory of Bruce Willis films that just pump out Bruce Willis films, this factory, and it's just like.
But he's in them, right?
He's in them. He's in them. So in the last 2 years, now I could be getting all these numbers wrong. I should have written them down, but with the way my schedule is, I had to watch this episode, which is awesome. You should go on YouTube and check it out.
Sorry, you just say it with authority, and people will think it's true. Whatever numbers you throw out, you just say them with authority.
I think over the course of 2 years, he came out with 11 movies.
Oh my God, I've not even heard of anything he's been in lately.
So if you scroll up, like they might not have seen advertisements of these movies, but probably most of us have seen, like, if we have Netflix, we've seen them pop up randomly, and they just have these like weird names like Apex or like Breach, like really like standardized titles. Things that
sound like actiony and exciting, but
exactly. And they just have these like simple montage Photoshop like things of floating heads with Bruce Willis prominently in there, and you go and watch these movies and he's kind of sort of in them, but he's not really in them, and there's like maybe 20 minutes of dialogue, and everything else is like him just like looking around, and it's clearly like a body double when the action starts, in a lot of these movies where he was there maybe for a day and did his stuff and then just left. And they found out that like all of these movies were produced by this one producer who does it for basically super low budgets, and over 90% or above of the actual movie budget goes towards Bruce Willis.
Wow. So he just gets everything.
He gets everything, and the rest is left over for all the other actors and production.
That is criminal, first of all.
Dude, it's so crazy.
And second of all, I got to see at least all of these.
Kieran, all caps. They are terrible. Yeah. It's incredible.
It reminds me of I think Half in the Bag did it. But like there's a Seagal movie that came out recently where he's like Special Forces, Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
And apparently he's like sitting down for most of the movie. Like he showed up and sat down in a chair for most of the movie. Yeah, 12 Monkeys to Breach. Can you believe it? Like 12 Monkeys. I mean, just Die Hard alone for Bruce Willis. And then to 12 Monkeys, then, you know, Sixth Sense, and then just
Well, dude,
just a
it gets
movie
so it gets
factory.
so in this I think it might be Apex, which is basically like, well, I'm not even going to bother with the plot, but
Oh,
they
come on,
spot
dude. Give me the
you
goods.
can spot him. Well, he's like
No,
some.
don't.
It's like what? Yeah, it's like it's like off based off the trope, like what's the greatest game of all, like to hunt,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
man,
Most dangerous game. Yeah.
yeah. So there's actually scenes where Red Letter Meter they spotted him. They spotted an IED in his head in his ear.
What?
I think it's no, not IED.
Not IED. What are you talking about?
Not IED. Not like a like an
Oh, an earpiece.
an earpiece. Yeah, an earpiece. And so
So they can feed him his lines that were
they
written
were
that morning.
feeding him his lines.
An
And the
IUD.
lines
Yeah,
are not
yeah,
even
Kieran.
that good. IUD. Yeah, IUD. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not
Same
it.
thing.
That's
They
not
pretty
it.
much serve the same
It's not an
function.
IUD either.
Yeah. So, dude, it is nuts.
Amazing.
And like
I assume it's like the writer on the other end. Like, oh, say it this way. Say it this way.
it's so nuts. And like some of them have like he's like in there's this one movie where he's just in a chair, the Steven Seagal style, the whole time.
Why not? Why
He's
not?
at-
Why
they
walk
somehow,
around?
they somehow figure out how to like he somehow his character just gets tied down and then you don't see him for the rest of the movie. Which by the way, I saw this, so I came across a similar movie. Well, okay, but before I get into that.
Yeah.
So how do they make money, right? Well, they pre-sell the movie to places like Netflix.
Oh,
And I
so
think they put
wait, so
they
it's
put
like,
together
hey,
like a movie poster, and then they sell it to Netflix or like to European things, and they're super profitable. And the dude's made like bank. The producer, he's like, of course, under investigation apparently for all these like fraud, you know, alleged fraud things. But yeah.
I mean, first of all, this sounds incredible, and
The,
I feel like
the
we could start a whole second stream and we can half in the bag this thing, just like Red Letter
just have
Media.
like
Just watch them all.
just a watch party. Yeah, I mean, I think the half in the bag episode does everything that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
they did. I think they did a public service.
Like, I know you're working on your gallery work and everything, but we can just cancel all that.
Yeah, it's just oh my god, yeah, it's so bad. And so the second I heard about this, because I remember seeing those movies on Netflix, and I'm like, huh, one day when I don't have to, when I'm just free, whenever the hell that is, right? I'll sit down and watch one of these movies, right? Because I had finished watching. This is after I had finished watching Bruce Willis in Red,
Oh,
which
okay.
was great. I thought
Yeah,
it was a
that
fun
Red
movie.
was
So
great.
I'm like,
Yeah, Red was great.
I was like, I'm just not aware of movies these days, as much as I used to be. So yeah, I'm sure there was this movie that came out, Apex, and
Excuse me.
so that was what the so that's ended up being what those actually were. Now I actually ended up watching a movie very similar. I got duped, okay, and
You
it
did?
was I did. I'll tell you what, it was Escape Plan. You don't remember that movie?
Oh, yeah,
Arnold
yeah.
Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. Okay,
Yeah,
so they did
it's like one of the
they-
few movies where Arnold Schwarzenegger actually speaks
yeah.
German, like Austrian German, but German. Or
Yeah.
Austrian. Which is it? Anyways, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know who knows, but so they put him and Batista on the front cover, and those dudes are in the movie for like 5 minutes.
What, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They're like Sylvester Stallone. And then the second, so there's 2 and 3. The third one, get this, the third one was shot before the second one.
Why not? Why not? You're making movies.
right? And I think that's what. So that formula, I mean, was they. I think they were saying that it came up like the first big one was Expendables.
Okay. Well, I
Was
mean, those
and
were successful though.
those were, but they were kind of cheap, in certain ways. Like they had like these like plug-in effects for like instead of squibs,
Oh yeah.
they they had After Effects things, and like, but it was so well done, written wise, like it leaned into it, like written. I'm not talking about as a piece of Shakespearean, performance here, but as a what it was
We're
targeted
not
to
talking
be,
about
like
Rocky Four
learning.
here.
We're not talking, right? Yeah, Stallone. I don't know. He jumped the shark, because I thought the Expendables was exactly what it was meant to be, which was
Yeah, yeah.
an 80s style action, like done right. Especially the first one was like, man, one-liners and wow, I was just
That was
blown
everything. It
away.
was everything it was supposed to be.
Yeah, but they have this like moment, like Mickey Rourke's scenes, like it's almost like he wasn't in
Oh,
the same room at the same time with
I'm gonna
everyone.
cover my mic up. Got dogs barking.
Oh, okay. I don't hear them.
Oh no, maybe the chat hears them. It's our one Frodo dog who is very loud.
Yeah, so I mean, Gib Santos says, "I love Ray's knowledge of bad cinema trivia." Yeah, it's that's, and we have the extent of that right there. I mean, I've watched some bad movies. Um, I
Oh
gotta,
yeah.
I gotta get back to it. Yeah, but apparently these movies are like not like the Escape Plan 2 sucked so much, and it was like Sylvester Stallone's character. Okay, spoiler alerts, everyone.
You know
Okay,
what? Doesn't matter. Just spoil it.
Sylvester Stallone's character gets kidnapped like 15 minutes in, and basically he just sits in a cell the whole time. And another character, you follow this other his protege's journey
Oh,
to go and release him,
so they can they're handing the torch essentially.
handing the torch. Tyler,
It's so
I guess if
another
well,
generation can escape the plan.
yeah, but then the third one, which was shot before the second one, his protege is nowhere to be found. It's just completely different people.
Dude, I can't wait to see these. This
Yeah,
sounds
F in the chat
amazing.
for Escape Plan 2. Yeah,
Yeah,
F
yeah.
in the chat
Have in
for
the
that.
chat, everybody.
Yeah, so that's yeah, so the Red Letter Media, man, you gotta watch. It's like incredible.
I mean,
It's
if you got to
incredible.
start anywhere, I don't want to plug another, streaming show. I don't think they stream; they just do YouTube videos.
They don't
But
stream. No,
um,
those guys look like they stream.
no, but just his teardown of Star Wars Episode One is it's a masterclass
Yeah,
in film, not riffing, but like just film bashing. When I love movies, and I know some movies are just for fun, and some movies are not. Some movies are really high art or whatever, and they're meant to be taken very seriously. But every once in a while, you got to just be really upset with a movie that got
yeah.
made, and it's fun to just tear it to pieces. And he does that really well with. He first started Red Letter Media. First started by riffing, not riffing. Sorry, I keep using riffing, but he was critiquing the Star Trek films, not the original series films, but the TNG films, starting with Star Trek Generations, which is a horrifying movie to watch if you're a big TNG fan. Um, and so he started with that one, and it was so successful that he went and did Star Wars Episode 1, and the teardown is so good. It's like 4 hours long. It's like
Star Wars
the movie.
Generation.
It's twice as long as the movie.
Yes, yeah. It's incredible. I just want to say Generations was written by Ronald D. Moore, but
Well, yeah, Ronald D. Moore also wrote First Contact, and they're both good, but they're not great. Is my point. They're good. They're good actiony movies, but they're not Star Trek: The Next Generation movies. If that makes sense. Like Star Trek is never
yeah,
about like space war. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Sorry, to be very specific, Star Trek: The Next Generation was never about like space wars and huge action battles. It was like a diplomatic show about diplomatic solutions. And
It's
but
about
no,
like
he
what
does
do
a
you
good job
what?
of kind of pointing that stuff out in his reviews.
Yeah, he's a star. He loves Star Trek, especially he loves the first. He loves TNG quite a bit. That's a great one. Actually, Dad Dad's Teapots asked if we've seen the hey Livebrush. Have you seen the Canon Films documentary? A great review of '80s movies. Have you seen that? Have you seen that
No,
documentary?
I haven't.
It is
I haven't.
incredible. It's
When the heck you
incredible.
seeing this? When are you seeing this?
This was like a couple of years ago. Like it was incredible. It was incredible. Like how Jean-Claude Van Damme like
Was it just the best?
he came in, did a split or something like that in front of the guy, didn't know it like and he was like, please give me a movie. Like I'm a star, or something like that. It was this like moment. And he was this guy, he had this like he's from he's from Jerusalem. He had this like this accent. It was so crazy. He's like, then he turns away. He goes, Bale. He's like, give me Bloodsport, you know. And he's like, hands him a script, and that's how like, it's like nuts. It is nuts. So yeah, it's like that.
This brings up a good topic that we could go over, and it's your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Well,
The
I have
chat, you can join
never.
in on this too.
I mean, I was pretty hardcore about like. I was pretty resolute about and definitive about my opinion about the greatest. I should say not favorite, but the greatest Arnold
Are
Schwarzenegger
you going
film
over this again? You going over this
being Conan. But
effing Conan stuff?
But what I'm saying is, Tyler, that
Okay, go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
don't necessarily have that opinion about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, sure, sure.
I have top favorites though. I you know.
I
Why don't you
wasn't.
go first?
I didn't bring it up to like say like let's compare Jean-Claude Van Damme movies to Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Arnold
No
Schwarzenegger
one's
movies are
saying that.
better, hands down. End of
Some of them
debate.
are. Some of them
But
are.
in the case for Jean-Claude, there's some good ones. There's some really good ones in there. I'd say my favorite is either it's a tie between Kickboxer or Universal Soldier.
Oh, those are good ones, man.
But yeah, Bloodsport, good stuff.
Bloodsport. Have you watched Bloodsport over?
Not
It,
no, not
it
in a very long time.
dude, it popped up on Netflix. Oh my god. Why you teach him and not me? It's so great.
I gotta see it. I haven't
It's
seen it since I was a kid.
yeah. The guy. It's
What
so
was
great.
the other street fighting one that he did? I mean, there's Street Fighter,
What?
yeah, in the chat,
Dude,
Street Fighter for sure. But there was
Street
another one.
Fighter.
It was called like Lionheart or something like that.
Lionheart. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Lionheart. Yeah, it was
Lionheart.
Lionheart. Yeah. The Street Fighter the movie apparent. Oh my god. The who
Oh
was
yeah,
the
he plays twins. What's the one where he plays twins? Karen just
what,
brought that up.
dude? Time Cop. Hello.
Is it Time Cop? Is that the one where he has to fight? Who? God,
Oh
man,
no, it's another one.
where he plays twins.
It's a martial
Yeah.
arts movie.
Double Impact.
Double
That's it.
Impact. Oh
That's it.
my god, I totally forgot. Oh my
Yeah.
god, Double Impact.
I remember
Yes.
one he did too called Cyborg. I don't know if you remember that. It was like a
Dude,
sci-fi apocalypse.
I had that on bootleg VHS. That was my first. Okay.
First
Jean-Claude Van
bootleg
Damme.
VHS. That was the
That
first
my
one.
dad- That was my first Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that I saw.
Oh,
I watched
man.
it over and over as
What
a
a
kid. I
great
don't
way
know
to start.
what my parents were thinking by letting me watch
It's
that
pretty
over and
violent.
over.
I remember that was on some premium channel we had, and my mom was like, "You can't watch this."
Dude, it is nuts. Yeah, I love Cyborg. That was great. That was great. I don't
I
want
don't
to
think.
watch it over again because I will have that like Masters of the Universe like oh my god, it's not as good as I remember feeling.
Oh yeah. That was I had that experience so big with Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, we
I
were
had
talking about it.
Yeah. I had this memory when I was a kid of how amazing that like final battle between him and Skeletor was. And then I saw it, and it was horrible. It was not good at all.
They ran out of money and stuff. It was awesome.
Okay, we got a question. We got a question in the chat.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Oh, it's not about movies. No, I'm just kidding. All right, how do you two go about learning the concepts of value grouping? Do you have any resources that really helped you grasp it?
Do you wanna go first? So I can go first. So this great, the first value grouping, for those who don't know what it is basically your is a way of organizing your scene in a manner, patterns of lights and darks that make your design readable. And you always want to have a readable image, and that way you can see it from afar and see it up close, because it's really all about major shapes, and that's what makes I think great art. It's one of the secrets of what makes great art great, is the value grouping. The first one, or the first resource that I came across talking about that concept, was actually Creative Illustration by Andrew Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
He did a breakdown of Howard Pyle paintings and talked about how Howard Pyle put together. Howard Pyle, for those that don't know, is considered the father of American illustration. Howard, with an H, Pyle, Pyle. Look up Howard Pyle, the Nation Makers, and you could see some such a great painting.
Which one's
do
that?
you know that one? That's the one with it's like the Revolutionary War, and they're charging in the battle, and it's they're being led by the drummer.
Oh yeah.
Right, and so
I was gonna bring up, because we were talking about, you're just talking about value pattern, value grouping. He's got, Howard Pyle has that one revolutionary painting where it's like a guy on a horse and he's rearing back, and there's like 10 soldiers kind of like all pointing their rifle bayonets up at him. And it's all about value. It's all about how he structured the pattern of the value on all their outfits, as well as how he grouped the values, how he did his value grouping. That the image just looks like abstract painting until you start looking into it, and it's this like incredible like triangle composition that pulls all these lines up to the rider. It's a masterpiece, and it's like black and white. It's just black and white.
He's a goat, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a goat. I mean, I think it's that. Do you remember that we found it in one book that I was like, I forgot it. I don't even remember what it was called. I have it upstairs, and then I bought it used from someone in grad school, and I was like, man, it's a lot of money for me, but man, it has this one image of Howard Pyle, and you can't even.
Wait, is this that Strangely Wondrous book or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a copy of that.
Right.
God,
I think you had bought it. You had
no. I borrowed it from somebody. And this is what happens to me. Don't lend me books. Everyone in the chat, don't lend me any books. Because I borrowed it from someone in art school and just forgot to get it back to them.
Dude, is that my copy?
I borrowed it from this guy named Ray Bonilla in art school. No, it was it's from like a friend of mine's like girlfriend or something at the time. And I never got it back to her. And I feel terrible about that. But, I love it. It's sitting in my collection now. It looks really nice.
My sin is, but it's actually, we're both, it's equal parts. Our good friend, Eric Johnson, who's another buddy of ours, another artist, art director does a lot of merchandising for like Alice Cooper and Jimmy Page, and awesome stuff. And so we hold hostage, like he took a book as collateral, and I took, because I borrowed one of his books. I borrowed the Al Williamson Flash Gordon.
Oh man.
From Flash, that's like super out of print.
Yeah. I
soft
had that for
cover.
a bit,
It's
and
so good.
I gave it to a friend.
Are you-
I gave it away.
Why don't you give it? Should have gave it to me. Uh,
I gave it to my friend
so
Richard. He loves Al Williamson.
not as much as I do.
I know. Go on.
Yeah. But
I'll get you a
he,
copy.
pro-
Don't worry.
he probably does. He probably does. But he has my Disney animation a book, The Art of Disney Animation, called The Illusion of Life.
Oh yeah. This book's awesome.
It's sick. And it was written by Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas, two of the original Nine Old Men, and it goes through like how the animators actually came up with the principles of animation. It's insane, and they go through the years and all the tech that they did, and so it's part history book, part textbook. It's pretty wild.
I don't know if you folks
yeah.
in the chat know, but Ray basically has an encyclopedic knowledge of, amongst everything else, he has basically an encyclopedic knowledge of animation history, primarily surrounding Walt Disney and all that incredible history.
Yeah, up to a certain point, I do. Yeah, I mean, it's the reason why is because I actually trained to be an animator when I first came to grad school. So
yeah, when I first met Ray, we were taking a head drawing class, and you were still in animation courses over at the PAL building.
I probably was. Was I?
I think you were, yeah, because you
Wow.
you kept saying, like, I remember in that class you were saying something about, like, I think I'm just gonna switch, and then I feel like the next week or so later you had figured out how to switch.
That's awesome.
It's not like they made it hard for you to switch, but I
No,
think
they
you were
didn't.
trying to do it without it setting you back time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where, yeah, I got that, fell in love with animation and whatnot. But to wrap up the whole value grouping thing, because we went off on a tangent again. Nito Reese said, on that note, would you say value grouping is something you put into practice for all the work you do, or will it be more of a situational thing? For me personally, it's all about separating, having good values in your foreground, background, middle ground, or having something where I shouldn't necessarily say that. Like value grouping that allows, to answer your question, yes, I do it everywhere.
Yeah, I think
Everywhere.
I would jump in on that
Um,
too and say that I think it's important in all art forms.
yeah,
Like if you're abstract art, you need good value grouping. If you're doing super
absolutely.
figurative work, you need good value grouping. It's value is like a cornerstone of composition, so it's got to
Yeah,
be
you
really strong.
really got to know what you're doing, dude. So what book would you recommend? You and I got into, we had tons of conversations about this in grad school because you were working with Randy Barrett.
Oh yeah. Man, I
And
don't know
Tim
if I even
McGraw
have.
over at Pixar.
Yeah, I was working with Randy at Pixar, and it's something he brought up a lot. I don't really think I had any specific books. I mean, I think people that do it really well. Um, I think Dean Cornwell does it really well. If you're like looking at old school folks, like Dean Cornwell's
Yeah,
super good
yeah,
at value structure. Sorry, we're talking like in general about value grouping, but so many people have so many different words for this. I think we called it a value pattern all the time. So,
yeah.
but it's all kind of the same. It's just how you structure your values in order to inform the viewer what they're looking at. But I don't really know if I have any specific books that are great to look at. There were some like compositional thumbnail books, but I can't remember the names. I think one of the most important exercises I got in art school was from Randy was doing thumbnails with 3 values. And so that allowed, you have to do tiny little drawings and force yourself to build the whole composition out of just 3 values. And that became a great exercise in like where you place your structure, where you group what you want people to see, and then you can push it out to 5. That's probably the best place to limit your value. All your overall major values is at 5, but 3 was it's a fun exercise if you're out there trying to build compositions. Just do a whole page.
It goes back to then forcing you to make shapes out of everything instead of thinking in terms of shapes. Right?
Yeah.
Which is what we're dealing with instead of individual details, which is gonna get you in trouble.
Well, and if it reads really good at that small, if it reads really well with 3 values at thumbnail size, if you hold to those overall value groupings and you blow it up big, it's gonna read perfectly. And that's something that I have to do a lot for magic card illustration because it's so small, which we talk about constantly on this show. But you really have to have strong value composition. We call it figure ground. It's the relationship between the subject and on the little magic card illustration in the background. So and you need really strong values for it to read at a really tiny size. So
and it's I don't know. I mean, you can ask Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran knows.
Kieran knows. Yeah, what are you asking us for? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, don't come to us. What do we know?
It was Donato here? You can ask Donato too.
Yeah,
Just ask everyone else.
Donato's not in this week.
Or Denman, Yeah. Or all the awesome artists, yeah. But let me see what you're doing, dude. I don't even know.
Yeah,
hey, that's looking nice.
So yeah, I'm just I'm doing the kind of what Ray was talking about earlier with local color. I started with just local colors. I can turn off a bunch of layers so we can talk through it. But I started with just kind of so it's gray, right? Starting gray. And I'm just bringing in an overlay layer to kind of address the local colors. There's like a lighter pattern down the body and then a greener pattern, greenish gray on the outside. And then there's some pink areas. These are all the local values, the local colors that I want to establish there. And then I'm adding in temperatures. So I brought in like a really warm light and then I cooled all the shadows off. And then I added a rim light in. I'm just kind of messing around with things that I can do on this. I'm not sure. But now that I think I've got that established and it looks kind of interesting, I will start painting in more of this, like more details essentially.
So you said this was part of your like a concept technique?
Yeah, this is how I end up doing a lot of, if I have enough time and we get a character to like a certain level of development, I'll do a lot of this where I will get a sculpt, either like a 3D model or just a black and white, like a person's head or a creature's head, and I'll sculpt it. And then I'll start doing like color passes over the top, just like this, so where I can get an idea of different color options. And if this is for like a concept push, I would probably have like 5 or 6 of these orc heads out, and I would try a whole bunch of different color formats, like different body skin tones, different eye colors, all of that kind of stuff. So
right, different takes and stuff.
We got how green do I like my orcs is the question from I'm gonna do it again. Lord Adornable did it. I like my orcs gray, like we said last week, and I don't want to argue about it.
Oh, did you say that?
Yeah, I think it came up.
Oh my god!
I think we argued for a little bit.
Really?
I don't know.
We were arguing about something.
Everything. We were arguing about
Conan.
Everything. Yeah, well, I was disappointed. Sure, that Conan was your
2 serpents. A feast.
We did have a small little disagreement as to look who's in my window. Look who's in my little window.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Oh my goodness.
You're in it. See?
Oh.
There you go.
Hey.
Kate's here,
Ding
everybody.
dong.
Ding dong. Do you have a question?
This is looking great.
Yeah, it looks great, huh? Look what Ray's doing. It's awesome. It's got Bernie Fuchs going on in there.
Whoa. Do you think Ray will ever let us buy an original painting that's not of Kurt Russell?
We'll see. There, he had one. I wanted that school bus one for a long time.
Ray, if anybody ever sends that back to you, if the buyer's like, don't like it, I return it. I don't know if they can do that in the fine art world, but if they do, we got dibs.
Oh, they can do it.
They can do it. They have done it before.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye. Jump in the
All right,
chat if you
bye.
want.
Yeah, jump in the chat or
Oh.
replace Tyler. I mean,
Yeah, Ray said
whatever.
replace me. She can't hear it now, but
Tell Kate that the chat is going ding dong, ding dong.
yeah, the chat's going ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, which means they got a lot of questions.
My catchphrase.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier about how I need a little soundboard, so
Yeah, you want to use mine?
I might have to.
I don't use it anymore. You're welcome to it.
It's one extra
right, so-
vector of me to not be able to figure out. Sorry, when this isn't great content, we're talking. You only hear one side of the conversation. Oh, is that it? Oh, interesting, amazing. That's how you do it. That's how you paint a painting in a few seconds. That's a masterpiece.
Oh, that's how you do it?
That's it. Okay. You guys didn't hear, but just got the info.
Oh, I have the info.
Hashtag Kate was right, except for her opinions on Legend.
Oh yeah. Which
Okay, I got
that reminds me. We were just talking about Thomas.
Yes.
And oh yeah, we were just talking about Thomas Blackshear. And one thing that I think I might have told you
that should be in
this.
a soundboard. Just Kate going woo woo.
I might have told you this, but and then we might have even talked about it in one of these episodes. But I'm going to give up trying to remember all the things that we've talked about. Yeah, it's been hundreds of years since our last season. So, but one thing Thomas told me when we were at the Norman Rockwell Museum was that he had a completely different poster for Legend. I brought this up. I was like, you did one of my favorite posters of all time, movie posters, Legend. And he like winced. He was like, I don't really like that one, man. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Did you say I wasn't asking you?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't ask for your opinion on this.
Thomas Baxter, my hero.
And he said he had this whole other one where the darkness, the big red demon in the movie, is like leaning back in this giant throne, and his like arms are out wide. And he said he did a whole comp and photographed everything for it. And then the studio didn't like it, and he had to go with the other one. But I wanted to see that so bad, and he didn't even have it.
Sketch for it. Did we see the sketches for it on his talk or something?
He might have had him in one of his talks, I guess. I can't remember. I don't have a picture of it in my head, so I don't know if I've seen it.
Well, I think there's so Thomas did a residency, I guess you would call it, on Visual Arts Passage's I guess it's this a membership called Studio Bridge, which basically is like a Netflix for, I don't know if it's like Netflix, but it's like, imagine if professional artists, you watch, they become an artist in residence, and so for the entire month, for 4 Mondays in a row, they do 4 lectures, and you get to ask them whatever you want, and they literally do a demo for you. They talk about their process, talk about their work, and answer any questions. And then imagine having that for art directors and people from gaming, and all of it. All the previous ones are on demand, and they keep adding new ones every month. Well, Studio Bridge is that. And so Thomas did one of those. He did a month, and there's actually a link that usually comes up about I did a 4-part lecture, but so if you click on that link, you could sign up for like 2 weeks. There's a free trial for 2 weeks. You go watch it, Thomas Blackshear, and you can actually see the Legend poster and a lot of the movie comp stuff that he was doing.
Oh, okay. I bet he had it in that then.
Really crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. His drawings are so tight. It makes me feel like I'm like a freaking just
hack,
remedial drawing hack. Yeah, it's like
no, but
wow.
I mean, I guess it's a good information on, I guess, how tight you can go. I mean, there's like a certain amount of I got to work at this speed. Resolved. Yeah. Solved. Right. And it's probably really important to, and it's something I often skip on my my own work, it's probably way more important for you to get that level of resolution before you go into painting. And I tend to skip stages, much to my own peril.
Tyler keeps it loose and free, man. You know.
Yeah.
Dude, but you know what? I kind of don't blame you. I do the same thing. It's the reason why I added this. I'm adding this. By the way, I'm painting on top of this with acrylics. I haven't sealed it because I don't have anything, my stuff here, and I don't want to take off this whole thing and off the easel. So I'm just.
Oh, you're already busting into acrylics now?
Yeah, I didn't seal it, but I'll seal it later. I could just seal matte medium on top of this, no problem. And
do you spray when you're sealing it? Are you spraying it, or are you just?
So because it's well, if it's the summer that's warmer outside, it's above freezing, I'll spray it outside with spray fixative, workable spray fixative. But if it's not, then I'll just take a brayer roller and roll some matte medium right over it. And if you do it pretty quickly, like a ninja, or like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Universal Soldier.
Oh yeah, Space Ninja.
Space Ninja, yeah. You won't disturb the gouache. It's pretty awesome.
This is the thing I've run into is because you and I live in colder climates than some folks.
Yeah.
And I had this same, because I was talking with another artist I know in San Diego, and they use it's like that spray on retouch varnish.
Yeah.
And they can do it any time of year because they're in San Diego. But here where I live, you try and do that in the winter, and it's like turns into a texture making device. Like it doesn't spray on smooth. It's just crazy texture. And it ends up being like just a terrible thing to spray on. I wish I had a big spray booth, but I don't.
Well, I think with so you looking to spray on oil paints and stuff?
Well, yeah, I'm just talking. I like in the summertime. I like using that the Grumbacher sprayable retouch because you can just hit it, and then the next day you can paint back on it, or it's like a quick drying.
Yeah.
And I also have that quick dry stuff that you told me to get by, I think Krylon makes it, right?
Yeah, they don't. But you can't find it anymore.
Oh, well, it's probably poison is why.
Well, ever since the 2020 hit.
The thing that happened.
The thing that happened. Right. We just stopped making it. It's pretty wild.
Oh, bummer. It's been like a supply line thing, but
probably. The Fat Baron says microwave it. It'll be fine. So there you go.
Oh yeah, you can throw it in the oven like the old days.
Dude. Frank Rosetta.
Yeah.
You remember that story?
Oh yeah, he'd pull panels up off the floor, paint on them, and then throw it into the oven.
He's like, watch this.
Now let's not forget the never-ending illnesses that the man had later in his life. So. But hey, did you see that his granddaughter's she's opening up a big Frazetta museum in Florida?
Oh, really? They're doing it. They're opening it back up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it wasn't the original one, right? Wasn't the original one in like Maryland or something?
No, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
But they did have he moved down to Florida at one point. And they did have the museum there.
Oh, okay. Well, then she must be reopening that. I saw a post about it. She was actually at that show at the Rockwell Museum.
Dude, that's crazy.
Because they had a bunch of Frazettas in there.
Whatever.
You should have come, man. You should have come out.
Yeah, right.
God, you'd have loved it, dude. You'd have been great. You'd have loved it.
Is that right?
Did you tell him Thomas Blackshear was there?
Thomas Blackshear was there, dude. I don't know if I told you.
Yeah, looking like straight out of a Bram Stoker novel.
He did. He was dressed as a vampire, and it was amazing.
And James Gurney was dressed like a time traveler.
You know what's funny about?
Oh yeah. Gurney was dressed like a time traveler, as Kate was just saying.
Sorry. I can hear him laughing.
who came back in time to kill the vampire. You, the narrative is staring at me right in the face, and I didn't even. Blackshear was his Studio Bridge demo. He did Frankenstein.
Oh, really? Like the
Frankenstein,
old school Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Gotta get that right. And with this crowd,
with this,
you gotta get that right.
Yeah, I know. That can't happen again. I'm sorry.
This crowd being the internet.
The Fat Baron said, "Wait, that James Gurney isn't a time traveler." We haven't confirmed that yet.
Yeah, there's no confirmation. I'm pretty sure James Gurney is a legitimate time traveler, but I don't want to. I don't want to give it away. Would you be
surprised if they found out that he actually was?
I would not.
I'd be like, I knew the whole time.
Yeah.
I'd be one of those people that they interview, like one of the neighbors. I knew the whole time.
Yeah, I would too, and I'd be like, and he's actually from the past. He's not from the future.
It's incredible, dude. He's I love James Gurney. That's someone I would love to go visit when it becomes a acceptable thing to do in person.
What, the Rockwell Museum or just James Gurney?
Just James Gurney. Just go out with coffee or something like that.
Yeah. He was fun to chat with. He told us a lot about working on Fire and Ice.
Dude, no. In my world, you haven't met James Gurney. You're not allowed to meet him.
Sorry, no stories.
Talk about things like Fire and Ice. Okay, one of the great animations. God, it's so good. It's a lot of fun.
It's really good stuff. And he worked on that with
Thomas Kincaid.
The infamous Thomas Kincaid. Or famous. Hey, what's up? What's up, Gavin Avenger? Thanks for joining.
It's Gavin Average.
I'm going Avenger.
You know what?
Because I don't want him to go down be
down
Gavin is not on average. His own name.
Gavin ain't average. Gavin's an Avenger.
This is actually something I do a lot. I misread something and then I play it off like I intended to read it a different way.
Yeah. There you go. Look at that. 5 peak.
What am I looking at?
Trying to see what the MooBot is saying here. Those are all great links, but you could probably there's a link for Studio Bridge that pops up.
Oh, I see.
Because if you just sign up for 2 weeks and you can cancel if you want, or otherwise. I mean, it's a whole community. It's incredible, and they have life drawing.
Yeah, you're not going to want to cancel. Not on this.
Yeah, it's actually pretty. It's incredible. It's incredible. So Blackshear did Frankenstein's monster, and he did a underpainting like this, not like this, but he did it in oils, and then he put color on top of it. And he was talking about how he just wanted to do this for his fine artwork, but he couldn't because it would take him too long to he's not ready to do it yet because he's got a process and he's got deadlines. So he's got a workflow basically that he doesn't want to interrupt. And I was like, well, I think I should do that again because we learned how to do this in school, in landscape painting class.
Yeah, and we had to. Well, was it that class? I can't remember. Something Bill was showing us where we had to. He was showing us that poster that he did of like the Ren Fair. Remember with all the.
That was the oil lift out.
Okay.
But in landscape painting class, we took narrative illustration with him as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So we took 2 classes with them. In the landscape painting class, we did the underpainting with the glazing.
That was fun because we were using that brown matter alizarin and we painted the whole entire painting in black and white first.
Or in black and
well, I guess black and brown matter because you couldn't. It kept you from getting really dark, which I thought was nice. Because then you could add your darks in when you went to color.
Yeah. Which is fun, It's all good. You could try it yourself if you want to. I mean, if you work digitally. This is basically what I'm going to be doing. It's what I've been doing so far. I find for me, and not everything. And this might of course change later on, um, but it's I can complete work a lot faster. But every artist is completely different, so do what works for you. Um,
Yeah, there's
but
no hard rule to it. It's if it
oh
works,
God,
if it works for you, do it.
And just because you follow one thing, and it doesn't mean you have to follow it forever.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like one of the most useful aspects of some of those classes that we took was to get to explore different techniques, and that kind of helps inform just the way you want to do anything. Really, it was I found useful in just a lot of the like transferring ideas to digital. Um,
Yeah.
It's like I remember doing oil lift out. Maybe I can do something like oil lift out if I use these different tools digitally, and you get a lot of the same effects essentially. It's a starting point. If you have a goal in mind for an effect, it's nice to have a starting point.
Yeah, because you know what that step, what the purpose of that a given step is, and so it's not a random thing. You're not just like smushing things around hoping for the best.
Yeah,
which is can be a interesting thing for you, an interesting experiment, but really not more of a foe than a friend when you're on a deadline and you need to create work that's high quality very quickly.
yeah, 100%. It's hard to mess around. Maybe that was the best part of doing a lot of this in art school was we were allowed to fail in those situations where it's much harder to do that when you're actually working for clients.
And someone's paying you.
It's a bit more unforgiving.
You imagine a client saying like, you know what, we'll let you fail on this one.
Yeah, just try it, fail, and then we'll try again.
We'll just try again. It's fine.
We'll pay you
Don't
again.
worry about it. That multi-million-dollar campaign wasn't that important anyway. Right? It's like, you're the center of our world. Your artwork was everything, so it was the beginning and end of our project.
Yeah. There's a dream client right there.
Yeah. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, that's looking good, dude.
Yeah, I'm
really nice.
I'm kind of like building in some extra details. It's going good.
Yeah, I think this is great.
This is I just wanted people to kind of see how I would mess around with something like this after doing a digital sculpt. And you can take this, you can do your illustrations this way too. I mean, it's kind of telling when you paint right over a 3D model, but if it works, you can go for it. Yeah, I did the Gavin in the chat. I started in the last few episodes of this season. I started in ZBrush, sculpting. Here, I'll turn off a bunch of layers so you can see. But I sculpted this guy in ZBrush, and then I just exported it into DAZ so I could light it up, and now I'm just painting right over the model. But you could, if you had the time, I don't necessarily have the time, but if you started this way for a whole illustration where you sculpted everything, I know some artists that work that way. I rarely have the time to do that level of detail, mainly because I'm slow when it comes to 3D stuff. But it's a great way to get tons of reference and really craft a scene from absolutely nothing. You build everything in the scene and light it and then paint over it.
Yeah, I got to get on that, man.
I like it, certain things. I was struggling a bit with it this week because I was relying so heavily on the 3D stuff. So I just kind of scrapped a whole bunch of things I had posed and just started painting like I would normally paint. I was losing the drawing, essentially.
Yeah, the Fat Baron says 3D is such a rabbit hole. Next thing you'll know, you'll be messing with substance paint and physics simulations.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It can be a rabbit hole because it's like, what do you want to do with it? And having a workflow in and integrating is something that I'm in the process of trying to figure out. Because I use some 3D for a few projects that I've been working on, and it was great. But the problem is, I just have to. There's like all these little things that I wish I would have done better, and that's just trying to get a good workflow is tough because when you're used to working one way for so long, you know how to start things, but I think 3D affords, at least for me, ability to get even better reference and push my compositions and my imagery.
Yeah, I've got the same experience. I don't know it well enough to integrate it super well, because if I run into a snag while I'm trying to work on something, it really like puts the brakes on the whole process.
Dude, totally. 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 And it's like, uh-oh, what do I do now? Or like, this looks like crap.
Yeah,
Why
when I
is
get
this?
that scenario, it demoralizes my process essentially.
Yeah.
It's like, this looks terrible. I'm frustrated and I can't go forward. But I don't know. It's a matter of finding the time to learn the tools better, and that's a hard thing to pull off.
It's pretty easy for me.
Just finding the time.
Yeah. I got plenty of time and things just
They just
start
fall together.
fall together. But it's not, it's cool thing about 3D is like so many possibilities, man. It's just like there's this great artist, this fine artist by the name of Martin Whitford. I don't know if you know Martin's work. You've probably seen Martin's work.
Probably.
Gallery artist, former, I think he went to grad school for illustration at SVA, but a lot of animals and like in like different scenarios and stuff. And he used to basically just, at least from what my like just on YouTube searching about his process, was like early on it was about like what I essentially do, which is kind of like photo bashing a bunch of photographs together to build my reference before I go and actually paint it.
Mm-hmm.
When I do a drawing and start from scratch or everything like that. So I guess it's not photo bashing, which is right. It's just photo comping.
Yeah, I would say it was comping, because like when you're bashing, you're actually like using those bits in the final piece.
Yeah. So
most of the time. So you could still see the pixels of those images that you used.
Right. Yeah. No, it was comping then. But now his work. He went from like really awesome to like whoa incredible. And I'm like, man, how is he building these images? And he learned Blender, man.
That was it.
Yeah, and it's just like
didn't Foster do that too? Like he was tired of getting reference,
yeah.
and he just decided, I'm just gonna sculpt my reference.
Sculpt it, yeah, and he works in ZBrush.
Yeah, that's kind of like the catalyst for me to get better at this stuff, because I love sculpting, so I want to be able to use those tools to make more things.
Yeah, and I'm someone who wished I would have taken a traditional sculpture course, because I really think in 3D like that. I mean, I love the idea of like playing director and just basically setting up my elements and then moving the camera around, seeing things that to see what are the possibilities of things.
Yeah.
Like have an idea going in, but then being able to iterate on it and being like, oh, what if it was over here? What if it was like this? Stuff I would never be able to think of, and I can kind of explore that. And I think a 3D offers me that.
That's how Kieran works like that. He kind of does a lot of, giving away your secrets, Kieran. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but he does a lot of 3D posing, and then he moves the camera around to find the best composition. I know that Chase Stone does that as well. It's just a great workflow. Something to invest in.
Capran says 3D only seems to work when it's based on a hand-drawn 2D thumbnail you're really excited about. 3D alone lacks a certain gestural quality. Well, yeah, I guess that's the
That's what happens to me, man. I have to.
right, right.
I lose the gesture so quickly that
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
revert back to my normal way of working, which is to use like just the heads and hands, and then make everything else up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're using it as I guess, a leapfrog. Like a springboard that has greater potential. But I like the idea of like having something, unexpected, and then taking that image and then bringing it into Photoshop, and then just literally drawing, using that, like you were saying, finding the gesture back in, and not using it as like the one-to-one. You could take it and break the arm and really push it so it matches your thumbnail and stuff. And like Capron's right about that. Like in terms of like 2D thumbnails and things like that, like having an idea going into it, because otherwise anything could be possible. And it's not really the it's not, when you're on deadline, it's hard to have like a very lengthy exploratory stage, because you end up having a bunch of stuff you don't use.
Yeah, it's about, I don't know, use of your time properly kind of thing. Oh, we got a Lord Adornable. We got a question. What's the best way to learn how to draw and paint folds in clothing from imagination? My approach is just like I just fall back hard on the whole chiaroscuro, or however you would say that in Italian, concept. It's the, as objects turn away from the light, you get a soft transition, and then the cast shadows are hard, just like you can see on this orc's face on his shoulder here. As it turns away from the light, it gives a soft transition into the shadow, and then the shadow ends with a hard line, and then there's a little bit of bounce light back underneath the form. If you just master that transition alone, you can make up clothing folds like super easy, because you just do that over and over again, form cast, over and over again, and you can make up all kinds of folds and shapes. And I just do it with, I have this little brush. I'll make it on a different layer here, but I have this brush that has sort of a soft transition like that. And you can find lots of Photoshop brushes that have that. And then you just kind of make these shapes, and you get folds out of them. And you can start building the same kinds of forms as you would see with fabric. So, we have these soft shadows and transitions. So you can just keep messing with these back and forth. And of course, look at reference, but just making up clothes, like that's all clothes are. They're form and cast shadows.
Yeah, I think Tyler has I'm going to speak for you now, Tyler, so you can go ahead and just mute your mic.
All right, I'll just turn my mic off.
So the thing about, you have to remember with Tyler, he's got a very, very exceptional visual library in his head when he's drawing from something like that. So he's able to look at something and kind of remember it, and remember, how it serves, how it functions, and then be able to kind of use that as a springboard for the rest of his pictures. And so, you know the function of folds, though. Like, they're not just these random shapes, and you actually are also very conscious of the form underneath it.
Sure, yeah. There's definitely a lot more to it than just the fold shapes.
So it's understanding like why folds sit the way they are. Because otherwise, so that's what Tyler's telling you, is just learn that, but also see the pattern in it, because it's a very simple pattern, but you have to. It's predictive, but you have to understand where to look for it. And I think studying from life, first watching clothing, move, is super helpful. Because they're just things you don't know. Like when we both took clothed figure drawing class, and I had no idea. Like folds, for instance, they'll pinch to, they're all sort of tapered to a point of tension, or a point where gravity is pulling them down. It's just stuff you don't know. You just think they just exist because they exist.
Yeah,
And
and
they're
they also form very specific fold patterns.
right.
Like there's the points of tension where the fabric drapes from a point that is holding it, and then there are folds that actually fold in a pattern. So they're like buckle folds, like that you'd see in the corner of your arm. There are like spiral folds that kind of fold across, like in a spiral shape around a form. And if you can sort of master drawing and painting those shapes, as well as just the function or fundamental mechanics of how a fold is created and where it starts from, you can make up pretty good stuff just based off of that.
And then that's where, like what Tyler was saying before, is understanding then the shape and how it sits in three-dimensional space, and then using the knowledge of how light what happens when light hits a form. And if you combine those two, that's how you can get really nice fold structure in it. But again,
and ultimately, like, keep it simple. If you're starting to make clothing, keep it simple shapes, and then you can start building in the complexities.
I mean, books wise, I mean, there's a lot of books. I mean, the one that I know of that was super helpful was this book called Drawing People. It was written by Barbara Bradley, who was
Great book.
former Cooper Studios illustrator, which basically, remember Mad Men, the TV series, and the way the artists were. Barbara Bradley was Barbara Bradley.
Yeah. She could draw anything.
She was incredible. So, but just understanding that, Capron says Hogarth's dynamic wrinkles and drapery. Yeah. Cloth breaks down all kinds of different cloth materials, leather, silk, etc.
Oh yeah. That'd be a great
There's
one.
a great teacher. His name is Will Weston, Weston. Take a look at his Instagram. He's incredible. He's got some really great demo drawings on just how fabric falls and how to go about just remembering those patterns, but just drawing them over and over and over and over and over again. If you do it, you'll be able to have a shorthand for it.
Yeah, I mean, that is ultimately the answer, right? It's like Kim Jong-gi, if anyone in the chat's ever seen his stuff. The reason he knows how to draw everything from every angle is he's done it. He's drawn everything from every angle a million times. It's this repetition thing. Obviously, there's a certain amount of, I don't know. There's a certain amount of, like, maybe photographic memory that Kim Jong-gi has, but even if you draw anything over and over and over again, you develop your own shorthand, and it becomes a lot easier to just make things up once you've drawn them a lot, and once you understand how forms work and all those things come together.
It also depends on the type of artist you are too for it. So don't feel like you have to make everything up.
Exactly.
If you don't like doing that, get the right information in front of you. If you would rather play around with it, the folds and shapes, and in your reference, we're working with models or sculpting it. And I find I can make stuff up much better if I sculpt it than, drawing it. Because I'm just not that type of artist, and I don't really enjoy it. And so I like working with reference and stuff. But that's like that takes a while to kind of understand, and figure out what works for you. Because what works for me doesn't work for Tyler, and vice versa. It's all. There's no right or wrong. It's just finding what's best for you.
Yeah, and it's about what you're after too. If you're more stylized, you can get away with making a lot more things up. If you're way more realistic, you can't. You have to get really good reference most of the time. And if you're gonna, if you're painting like an artist like Chase Stone or something who's doing hyper realistic work, you have to get really good reference for everything. Otherwise, you'll see within the painting like the things that didn't have any reference, and the things that did.
Super. That's a great point. Like it's like what type of art you want to do. That's the and I think there's be careful with advice like that because like what we give you because we're giving it from our vantage point of like the type of work that we do, but it might not be applicable to if you want it super stylized. You don't have to get like crazy detailed reference. That's super exact. You could basically simplify it down to a shorthand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a it's great. Great point. You know who's also incredible?
Who?
David Finch.
David Finch. I don't know if I
Fin.
know.
What? The comic book artist?
Oh yeah, yes, I do. I was thinking of some artist we went to school with that I thought had a similar name. That was David Dibble.
Yeah.
It's David Dibble. That's what I was thinking.
David Dibble is.
David Dibble is very good.
He's very good. He's not David Finch.
No.
It says that they're two completely different people.
Yeah.
That work completely differently. Yeah, if you want to see some incredible landscapes, he's really interesting. David builds everything like he has a reference, and then he takes that reference, and then he does oil studies, but also digital studies on top of it, and he will.
Are we talking about Dibble or Finch?
Dibble.
Yeah.
David Finch is the comic dude, right? Capron. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is like a bit. I mean, I guess it's a good thing to bring up in the comic world. There's sort of it's probably not as prevalent anymore, but it was a big deal years ago about how reference was like a sin, essentially. And there's some few artists that think that Ray and I have talked with who've worked through that industry and received so much crap for using reference. And now it's not so big a deal. People like Alex Ross and just a lot of comic artists that use tons of reference. But there was a point where it was like the worst thing you could do as a comic artist.
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know. There's certain pieces of types of art that you don't need a lot of reference for.
And it's all about how you work
rule like
too.
that is it's having a blanket rule like that is absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
And you should use reference. When someone's really proud of how they didn't use any reference, usually the response is, well, it shows.
Yeah. Or, it's like, listen, if that's what you like to do, then you go ahead and do that. Like art, see the art world is big enough to have, there's enough space for both of us.
Yeah.
So like to think that there's like like there's always like there's best. I think it gets confused with like best practices. Like anything that Tyler and I recommend, of course you should take it with a grain of salt. I mean, because there's an entire country's worth of artists that years, centuries worth of artists that people that might work completely opposite. That's the thing that Tyler and I both hate. I think hate's a strong word, but we've just irks us. I think more so. It's just people, artists who feel the need to be dogmatic.
Yeah. It's like a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, it's like they've come to a conclusion, and they feel that conclusion should be applied to everyone, and it's like, what a waste of time.
Yeah, it's not helpful. It's not helpful to say you have to do it my way or you're not going to be able to be an artist or make a painting. It's like that. Whatever that way is, it took them a while to figure out on their own. It's the way that works for them, but it's not the way.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I don't want to be harsh. I mean, people, you do you. But I just think that it's to say that there's one way of working is just, I think it's ignorant, because it just goes to show you that you haven't really looked at how other artists work.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
it's definitely for sure. That's like part of it. Or there's like a stubbornness to other people's process, cuz if
Sure.
there was one way to work, then all artists would have the same looking work. I mean, how do you account for artists that are really good and work in a completely different style? It's
It
just a
does.
weird way to think about art
Find,
creation.
find find what works for you. All the greatest artists, most of the greatest artists that like great educators of art, like Andrew Loomis. I talked about creative illustration. Even in his book, he's very specific about things, but he always says why you do it. He knows multiple styles, multiple ways of approaching things. And then at the end of his book, that was super specific about best practices, he goes, "You don't have to listen to me. I'm
Yeah.
just giving you the best advice that I can. You need to find your own way, though, because no one has the answer except for yourself. And
Mhm.
so, um, but do the work, do the homework, do your research on things. And if something doesn't work, then go on to go to another artist and keep studying because there's a whole it's a whole this is a large world out there, and there's all these different types of working methods. And I think that's what's not to bring his name up again, but you know but Bill Mon, uh, he gave us the I always say that he gave us the Rosetta Stone of image making techniques, because Rosetta Stone in sort of deconstructing how someone works and seeing why someone takes a step that they take and treating it as a step and as a possibility. So, under the guise of like what visual problem it solves,
Mhm.
you know, and so then it's no longer like a it's not like small steps like, oh, I use a Prismacolor pencil instead of graphite pencil. They just become more preferences, a matter of preference rather than an essential step. You know,
Yeah, it's kind of the thing you brought up with Loomis. These are like tools to help you solve a problem, and here's why you should use it.
yeah,
And knowing the why and how something works makes it so much easier to translate that to something else.
yeah, and like Capran said, like Frazetta bragged that he didn't use reference. He was fronting though, like he was a comic artist for 10 years. Yeah, that's exactly what Tyler was talking about in terms of like the stigma. But like the fact of the matter was like there was tons of photo references in his archives,
Yeah, he was fronting
and
those.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like
he's got that whole closet full of. In the documentary, he's got that whole
cameras
closet
and
full of
stuff.
cameras. Like,
Yeah,
it's got nothing to
it's
do with
like
my art.
right. But he also he studied, memorized shapes, and like he has a shorthand for things. The man's not a wasn't a photorealistic artist. He and he trained under. I mean, think about his friends, Roy Crinkle.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these. You know, was it John Allen St. John was a
Yeah,
illustrator at the time. Hal Foster. There are people that were working around that time. Alex Raymond. His friends like Angelo Torres and like
and you can
Al
see it in the St.
Williamson.
John stuff too. Like, there's
Dude,
so
you could
much of Frazetta's work in there.
totally, 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 totally. And so like figuring that stuff out, I mean, it's not one thing or the other. It's just it's like a gumbo to steal to paraphrase an illustrator that Tyler and I know, Rudy Gutierrez. It's like your style, who you are is like a gumbo, and it's just you just throw a bunch of different elements in, and it's going to be unique. That's how you get it unique. So
Yeah,
no,
no one becomes an artist in a vacuum. You become an artist by looking at other artists.
yeah. And at the end of the day, who cares? Like if it looks like crap and you use a ton of reference, and then it looks like crap, right? So it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah. Well,
Or if you
exactly. It's
didn't
right.
use any reference and it looks great, then it looks great. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what we're all trying to get the best possible image out of our work. That's all we're trying to do, folks.
and I've seen that too, man. We've seen it a million times where someone had tons and tons and tons of reference, and it's painted super tight to that reference, and then when ultimately it's like a really over rendered styleless piece because they were too much of a slave to the reference that they had, and that doesn't work either. So there's no hard rule that's all about your own creative energies and the marks that you make.
Yeah, and you know, and it's all like I said. Like we're telling you, it's like do your research, think about look at how other people work, but don't take what they take what everyone says is with a grain of salt, and just compare your facts and come up with your own conclusions on things. We got a first time chat here, which dovetails perfectly into what Cyborg Sellout says. I used to dislike it when people call themselves self taught, but I don't think anybody says that anymore either. I mean, everyone watches YouTube tutorials now. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's cross pollination of information. Everyone's sharing information, and that's what we're doing here. It's a beautiful thing, and it's not a yeah, I don't think it. I mean, some artists are a little cagey about how they do things, but hey, that's their deal. Who cares? Like what makes it, I feel makes the artist great has nothing to do with their approach. It's just it has everything to do with you know what they're who they are as artists. Their ideas and how they're able to get the appropriate emotional reaction out of the viewer. So
Mm-hmm.
the technique and is a ends to a means to an end, not an end in itself. And that's why you take somebody like Kim Jung Gi or Frank Rosetta, you know, uh, and you give them a piece of pencil, or you give them a pencil, and they'll do something incredible. It doesn't, or if or you give them a Wacom stylus, Mobius, Jean
Mm-hmm.
Girard, like it's just like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we
It's
used to joke about that with Xiaoming Wu in our. We would take classes with him. We used to joke about how he could probably paint if you just gave him a mop. He would be able to
You'd be
paint an
fine.
amazing painting with it.
You might be too tight.
Yeah, maybe be way too tight.
Yeah. You've never seen Jiaming Wu's work? Oh my God.
Yeah, check him out, folks.
Yeah.
You will be blown away.
Chaomingwwu.
In fact, I a lot of the ways I solve edges is because of Xiaoming's instruction.
Yeah. I everything I know, everything how I think about form and value is it's very informed by by him and Bill.
Yeah.
Uh, like the broad concepts, Bill, yes, specific forms, how to go about handling something like that. Like Zhao Ming's words still resonate with me today, and I'm still unpacking all the stuff that he taught us. Um, but he's just it's a really influential teacher on the both of us.
Yeah. Even though neither of
Tyler?
us paint like him, but it was principles
No.
that he brought forward. Like I still stick with his when it comes to painting a form, the 3 forms and the 5 values, I still stick to that. That's just classic stuff.
I don't remember. I remember 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. That's what
2-dimensional.
I always remember
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
He would. I don't know. Maybe we didn't have all the same classes with him together.
No,
but-
we had him. We had him.
Oh, we
all the
did.
same.
We did. I just
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
one
yeah.
where he would just going over. You can only see the three planes of an object, and then when you're looking at any object, you can only see 3 of the planes essentially that are facing you. So you have to deal with those 3 planes with different values, and then overall there's going to be you're dealing with 5 values because there's the reflected light and the cast shadow. So all 5 of those values come together to describe the 3 forms that you're seeing.
God, that's baller.
It was good stuff. I still use it all the time. I got to remember to keep track of these values when I'm working on a 3-dimensional form.
Yeah, but that's like that is like that'll take you years to fully understand. Yeah, that's a lot of you got to draw a lot, and it's a lot of work to understand something like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's one of those like, so great. I remember him telling me consider the form, you know, and he'd always say 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and his idea was, all of the, and or he would say, top to bottom, left to right. That is like the biggest thing I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
think about. Like
Gradients.
not every gradients, like not every light is equal, not every shadow is equal. It's like people ask me like how do I get a sense of light in my paintings? Just Jiaming Wu is basically what what I'm trying to do,
Hmm.
top to bottom, left to right. There's one lightest light and one darkest dark. You got to find that in the painting and relate that, and then you
You know,
mix that up with like Jacob Sweet said. Hey Jacob, what's up, man?
hey Jacob.
He said, yeah, I always thought of my style as a top Spotify playlist. All the songs I'm super influenced by and I absorbed over and over. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you take a little bit of Zhang Ming Wu, filter it through Howard Pyle, who said, the way you lay out a values in your composition is light against light, dark. You could do light against light, dark against dark, middle tone against middle tone. You could do anything you want in your piece, but you have to remember the one thing you have to make sure is that your focal point has the highest point of contrast.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like
And it
that's so
doesn't have to
simple.
be. It doesn't even have to be a hard line. It could be value
No,
contrast. It can be
yeah,
edge control contrast. It just has to be the highest contrast.
right,
You know
right,
that
exactly.
that thing you mentioned with Zhao Ming about like right to left, top to bottom. I
Well, you
never
told me
under
that personally, though. You
Yeah,
told me
but
that personally.
I think you'd brought it up, but I still didn't understand it at the time. And it wasn't until I had that one-on-one with Tim Avat at Pixar that Tim just laid it out. All he did was say everything has a gradient. Everything you're looking at has a gradient, which is
Yeah,
just another way of saying what Zhao Ming's saying. Like consider top to bottom, left to right. Everything, all things have a gradient to them. Whether whatever's closest to the light is going to be brighter, and everything slides away, and all forms have this gradient. So if you just think about that so that you don't have you don't have any flat transitions of color, you get really dynamic, like light driven imagery when you do that, when you deal with the
yeah,
gradient.
yeah, exactly. And for those of you who want to, actually, could somebody in the chat actually link to Xiaoming's website?
Yeah,
I'm
you
just,
should. I might be
I'm
able
just
to.
covered. I'm covered in acrylic paint here, and
Let's see what comes up here if I lose the
I
whole
don't want,
stream.
I don't want to mess up my brand new computer.
Someone will beat me to it, but
No, we could just ask the chat. It makes it interactive. Tyler, come on now.
all right.
You
Well,
keep doing you.
I'm still doing work over here. Oh no, I'm beating him to it. I'm beating him to it. Done. It's probably not even the best place to see Zhao Ming's work. If you can find the books that he's put out,
And Instagram, but yeah, I mean that's a start.
yeah, it's a good place.
That's who we were dealing with, you know.
Yeah, and we hadn't even seen. We were in school with him. We'd only seen his portraits and figures, and then I remember like near the end of school, we saw in his book a bunch of his landscape paintings, and it was just like, you got to be kidding me! This guy's too powerful.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad he never went into illustration. None of us would ever have work.
What do you think his favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie is, though?
I, truthfully, uh, that's a good question.
Probably one of the Expendables.
I was trying to come up with that. The Expendables. He was in the third one. Was that what it was?
Yeah, he was in one of them. I think
Yeah.
just one.
It's like you gotta have the kick. Remember when he did the kick? He kicked like a gigantic like butterfly knife into the dude's chest. The young guy who had like the only thing to he was the only person who had something to lose. He didn't come home. It's like, yeah, I got my girlfriend and I'm done after this. I'm getting married. And like, dude, you are gonna die.
Yeah, you're a red shirt. Just on the
Yeah, you're a red shirt.
Just on the basis of the lines you're giving us, you're a red shirt.
Yeah.
It's Bloodsport. Yeah. Bloodsport all around.
Bloodsport all around. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Buddy, maybe Bloodsport. Yeah, that's so great. You got it. You got to see the canon thing, man. It's great.
Oh man, I got it.
Yeah. Jacob Sweet says, John Asaro said that everything is a reflective light source, so all objects are reflecting less and less light, hence gradients. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's another way. John Asaro, one of the great colorists, man. Over time, we drew from the Asaro head, and oh my god.
Well, Bill brought something up too. I think related directly to that was because he was telling us something about painting night scenes, and this is something I still do, but light reflects and can reflect a whole bunch of times, but it gets less and less noticeable. So moonlight is reflected light. Moonlight is light from the sun reflecting. And so when it gets down to earth, that the next time it can reflect is going to be really hard unless it's on a mirror. So at night, your shadows end up becoming these really flat, dark shapes, which I think is something that Gurney goes over when he was talking about painting night scenes, that all your shadows become these really, really dark, hard shapes because there's very little reflected light from the moon light that's going to be able to reflect back in there. And that ended up being a really useful, I guess, overall concept just about optics and how light works for night scenes. That and Viridian.
Dude, it's pretty. Spent so much money on stupid Viridian, and
I still love it.
I still love it. I love it absolutely. Yeah, Viridian's a transparent green for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's like kind of gray. It's like slightly muted, but it's like bluish green.
Yeah,
it's just a great color.
Some fun stuff. Yeah, fun stuff with it. But that's what when we asked Bill, what color should we use for night scenes, he said just use Viridian. And it was just like, okay,
And then he was right, because you look at like Dean Cornwell's night scenes, you look at N.C. Wyeth's night scenes, and they all
went
just
to the same art
complete store. Viridian straight up.
Now I will say, it's not exactly. Bill said it because he knew that if he said anything more, we would just be confused.
No, I know it's not exactly Viridian. It's actually like it's Viridian leaning harder towards blue.
And also, like, somewhat Frank Tenney Johnson's another person. Like, those are straight up Viridian, but it's always Viridian over a warmer underpainting to keep your shadows warm, so they don't look like flat and cold. And so Cornwell does that all the time. It's like, so does Hard Pile. You'll see it.
Cornwell's got that one where like the woman and the man are on the bench, and he wasn't using like anywhere in the image does he use like straight Viridian, but it's like every single color he chose has Viridian mixed into it.
Yeah,
and it's this really awesome like gray night scene
with the cane.
I think that's the one. Yeah, and it's like unfinished. You can see the canvas around. They're both sitting on either end of a bench, and it's like really muted colors, super limited.
He's got a lot of people sitting on benches, so I'm
I know.
trying to like go through. There's one that Harvey Dunn did that was straight up a night scene with two people on a bench.
Yeah, I remember that one too. There's a lot of bench scenes.
So,
it's in the book. It's in the Illustration Press Cornwell book.
I gotta go.
You'll find it.
Oh,
You'll find it after the stream.
Yeah. It was like blue. It was more blue.
Yeah,
right?
well, I think the ultimate goal of it was like, or the ultimate result was everything was pretty gray, but everything had a greenish. It was like paint pot method. Like he mixed up all of his colors and then dipped Viridian into everything.
Yes. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah. That's a really nice one. Yeah, that's. I gotta go. I forgot about it. I don't think I have. I don't know where the heck that painting. Yeah, I'll go see it. We have 6 minutes left, so I'll see it as soon as we're done with it.
Yeah. It's Stone Sea. Yeah, it's vignetted, but it's also like Dean Cornwell unfinished. Where he just didn't care to paint the rest of the area. You'll see it when you find the image.
Hold on, I'm gonna see if I have the book here. Hold on a second.
You hold it up in front of the camera. I mean, I could probably find the image. It's very green, when you find it. It's got like the guy. Ray's off camera now, but it's got the guy with like his head in his hands, and the girl's in like a very like 20s.
Right.
And there's like reeds in the background and stuff. Yeah, Dean Cornwell book. It's like really near the front, I think, on that one.
Okay.
Some reproductions show it more purple. Some reproductions are super viridian. Here, I'll drop a link to the illustration art blog spot that has a great reproduction of this.
You're talking about, but you're not talking about this one, right?
No, but yeah, he's got a bunch of people with their heads in their hands on benches.
That's the one with the cane.
Yeah. No, this is a different one. I just put it in the chat.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. Because there's also this one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, no, it's not that one either. But that one's
That's
great.
Moonlight. That's blue.
Yeah, he went blue, and that's, you can kind of see. I mean, we talk about movies on here so much. There's such a huge influence of that in cinematographers, like lighting work for movies, and they'll choose one of two things. They'll choose like crazy green for night scenes or crazy blue, and if you go out in the moonlight, there's neither of those colors. There's almost no colors.
Well, this is the other one that I was thinking of too. The Moonlight one, and that's like blue, green.
Yeah, that's not it either.
With the warm underpainting. No, Tyler, it's so easy.
It's in there though.
Two people sitting next to each other. Here, hold on 1 second.
Here, I'm going to use a photo filter on this orc, and I'll make it a night scene here in a second.
Point out like the people sitting on benches.
I know, you're never going to find it.
You're talking about this one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one. Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Isn't it?
That. Two people sitting
on benches.
On a bench. On a hammock this time. So, no, you got it.
There we go.
That's a good.
And now it's a night scene.
There you go. Why'd you make me get this book? You could just do with the click of a button. Well, I got to put this thing down. It's huge.
But, yeah, anyways, Viridian. Oh, that was a little advertisement for Viridian. Brought to you by Winsor & Newton. The paint company.
Yeah, Sapphire said on a hammock bench,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, our pleasure's done, yeah. So, yeah, we, I shouldn't have looked at that book, man.
Yeah, this is one problem we had a lot when Ray and I were, like, because this show is a reincarnation of how Ray and I would work when we were done with school. We would just call each other up on Skype while we were working in our studios, and we would chat about artists. And what would almost happen, I think, every single time was we would fall down the rabbit hole of an artist. We would start talking about someone like Dean Cornwell, and then we would basically stop doing the work that we were supposed to be doing, and we would be looking up photos of that artist's work or going through a book like Ray just did and holding it up to the camera, showing each other a piece that we were talking about, and we'd almost get nothing done.
Yeah.
Just like we did in the studio. Just like we did in the art studio at art school.
And then we also always come away with like, oh God, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I
got way more work done when I brought my paintings home with me all the way on the other side of the bay. I bring them into my house and paint them there than I did at the studio where we were supposed to be really high functioning and efficient artists.
Oh God. Yeah, I gotta put the books away when I'm painting myself. My studio. But it's because my time is so precious right now. So.
And you've kept all your books, right? You haven't like got rid of any.
Hell no, man.
Exactly. Hell no. I've talked to other artists I know that are like, I just got rid of all my art books and I just look stuff up online. I'm like, you kidding me?
What?
Like, my art book collection is like an artifact, And I know it's going to destroy the foundation of my house. It's going to crack the foundation. But
or
having
it
those physical
serves
books,
as a stand-in for a foundation.
Yeah.
If your foundation cracks, you have the art books to hold up the house.
it's holding it up. It is. I even have it's not even an art book, but they did this. It is an art book. I'm looking at it right now. It's this like crazy omni collection of all of Akira Otomo's.
Oh my God. Wow, really?
Yeah, and it's like this giant brick, and it's all of Akira as it was originally produced, but not in Japanese. It's in English.
Wow.
But they reversed it like you would be reading it in Japanese, and they put in all of Otomo's original hand-drawn sound effects. They put them back in because the Marvel one didn't have. The Marvel one actually removed those because it was making it read Western, so not the other way. We read left to right. In Japan, they read right to left. So this one reads right to left, but it's in English, and they put in Otomo's original sound effects. It's killer.
Yeah, I mean,
and it comes with the art book too. I don't know if you'd ever seen the Akira art book, but there's a book they put out that's all the promotional art that Otomo did himself.
Wow.
To promote
I didn't see it.
to promote the book. I mean, it was a book that he was putting out in a periodical. So.
Right. But man, that's one of the areas I got to get art books of. Is like I don't have any art of movies. Can you believe that?
Oh man, that's some of my favorite stuff to collect.
The closest thing I have to art of anything is the Star Wars technical manual.
Yeah, I got
vehicles
those.
thing that Doug Chang drew in the 90s.
One I would totally recommend is and to folks in the chat, and maybe you have it, but it's The Art of Atlantis.
No, the Mike Mignola stuff.
It's all Mike Mignola stuff. It's so good. Totally get that book out there, folks. It looks like we're up on time here.
Oh whoa, 10:02. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So hey Jacob, thanks for sending that that link to the Franklin Booth thing. That's awesome.
Franklin Booth's amazing.
And we forgot to say also there's an awesome book coming out from Flask with a familiar name. It's funny, exactly your name, the same.
It's exactly my name, but with the art of at the beginning of it.
Art of. So
yeah,
isn't that crazy? Small world.
Yeah, if you go over to Flesk Publishing, probably through that Kickstarter link, you can probably get the Franklin Booth book and some older Franklin Booth books and my book, The Art of Tyler Jacobson, in stores soon because COVID has created some interesting situations around shipping from Europe.
Oh, God. Well, anyway, so I'll be continuing this underpainting next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Well, are you going to continue this thing, Tyler?
You know what? I think I'm going to work this weekend to get my oil painting set up back in action so that I can do more portraits of actors from some of my favorite movies in the 80s. So
nice.
Probably a lot of Kurt Russell paintings coming at you folks. But We'll see. Might change it up.
All right.
No, that's what I want to do though. I want to get my oils out again. I've been having fun with these first 4 episodes messing around with digital, but it's time to get back to the roots.
Then I got to finish this thing up quickly so that I can jump on that portrait. But
I do you, man. You do you.
But I digress. So thank you, everyone, in the chat for all your wonderful questions and everyone watching. I've been Ray Bonilla. You can find my work at raymondbonilla.com and Ray Bonilla Painter on Instagram. And who are you, my friend?
I have been and always will be Tyler Jacobson. And you can find me at tylerjacobsonart.com as well as at tylerjacobsonart. And this has been a wonderful 4th episode.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So
see everyone next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Signing off.